Ready to go.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Today we're working on a little Homelite weed eater. That's a little curved shaft weed eater, and a lot of people have these. And after they sit for a while, especially if they sit all winter with the gas in them, then what will happen is the diaphragms will just get completely shot inside the carburetor. And the easy thing to do is just replace the carburetor on it. So that's what we're going to do today. So all you new people out there, go ahead and subscribe. It's free. That's what we're working for. So let's get started. Okay, if you're replacing the carburetor on one of these, the first thing you want to do before you remove the fuel lines is loosen the gas cap up. So we'll go ahead and take the cap off and take a look. And we've got a little bit of gas in there. And on this one, when I look inside, I realize that the fuel bulb is up here. You don't want that. You want your fuel bulb to be in the middle here someplace. So we're going to take our pliers and we're going to back it up just a little bit to get it to sit in the right spot. Okay, and if we look at our return line, it's way too long. You can tell somebody put the new fuel lines on it, and they just weren't quite sure what they were doing. So that looks pretty good. Looks a little tangled up, but that's okay. So now we're putting the cap on loosely. We're not tightening it up at all, because if you tighten it up, then pressure builds up inside the tank quickly, and your gas will just pour out. So at this point, we're going to, let's grab our bit. Okay, at this point, we're going to go ahead and take the two bolts out holding the carburetor. And you'll see this is a really quick little job. We've got our cap loose, so we know we're not going to pour gas all over the place. And in this case, since our lines are too long, rather than Ouija them off the carburetor, we're going to guesstimate how long we want them to be. So that'll fit pretty good. And we're going to go ahead and cut them to the correct length and leave the old lines attached to the carburetor. Now your linkage on the other side, once you slide the carburetor off, this one's pretty attached. There we go. Once we take the carburetor off, the linkage pops right off. Now to put our new carburetor on, it's pretty easy peasy. We're going to put our linkage back on. You want to do that first. You're going to get it in place, and then we're going to take our two fuel lines and attach them real quick. Okay, at this point, we're going to tighten the gas cap back up. Let's take a little bit more slack out of those. There you go. That's just about perfect. Now, when you do this, if you look, this one has a vent hole right here. This gasket has a vent hole here. So I'm not quite sure how this could have ever worked. I have a feeling that we may have one that somebody tried to fix and then gave up on it. So what we're going to do is make sure that our gasket aligns with our vent hole on the carb, which it does. And we're just going to put our air filter back on. I did that for display, so let's go ahead and get her all lined up now. Oh, nope. We've got her upside down. There we go. Now we're going to put our gasket back on, making sure that the hole lines up. That's kind of interesting. I don't think this one could have ever worked that way. We're going to screw the carburetor back on. Now the only thing that's left is a little bit of adjustment. And that's it. Let's put our little air filter back in. Put our air box back on, and we're done. And so this little weed eater that was probably headed for the garbage bin, I'm kind of betting it's a pretty good little weed eater. Test our linkage. And it closes the choke correctly. Perfect. So let's test it. So now at this point, we're going to go ahead and prime her up, and we're going to watch that the gas comes in through the correct line and goes out through the vent line. So you want to make sure the gas is going through the filter into the carburetor and then being pumped backwards. And you can see the little bubbles moving there, which indicate that everything's working correctly. She doesn't have a ton of gas in her, so we have to hold her flat. So now let's choke it. Let's give it a pull. How about that? You sound pretty good right off the bat. Okay, so she needs a little bit of adjustment. Let's go do that. See, she's bogging when we hit the gas, which tells us that too much air is coming in. Not enough fuel. So I took the air box off for this part. So you can see this is the low side. This affects idle. This affects acceleration. We're probably going to want to look at this. Now, the choke lever is not moving all the way up. However, if I look inside at the butterfly, it's in a good position, so I'm not worried about that. So what we're going to do is adjust this one, which is the high side. That adjusts acceleration. That adjusts the top end. This just adjusts idle and nothing else. So let's start her up and give her an adjustment. There you go, and we're going to adjust right here. So I'm going to get my little screwdriver ready to go. Let's go ahead and start her. Now she's idling okay, so we won't touch the L screw. So let's try giving a little more fuel. A little more fuel. A little more fuel. A little more fuel. That sounds pretty good. We might turn the idle up just a touch, but that's it. Right about that. Yep. It's running a little lean, so let's go up just a little. We'll give it a little bit more. So let it go down to idle. And for a cheap little weed eater, that sounds darn good. So you can see if you've got one of these little Homelite weed eaters, or really almost any weed eater, it's a really easy fix. So don't throw it away. Don't go looking for a new one. Try to save your old one first. If it's still in good shape outside of not starting, that'll save 99% of them. So this one, when I got it, you can see somebody put new fuel lines on, and they might have put a new carburetor on and never gotten it to work. The gasket in the carburetor was the incorrect gasket. Now, whenever you buy one of these carburetors, you'll get 2 or 3 gaskets. Make sure you use the correct one. A little hole in the back of the carburetor is the negative pressure pump, which causes fuel to go into the carburetor. If that hole is covered, it'll never work. So, all you new people out there, go ahead and subscribe. It's free, and you made it this far. You might as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.